This is the day that's kind of
Seated comfortably at the USO Guam location at the Royal Orchid Hotel, former Marine William Mays says he traveled by himself from Southern California to return to the tiny island he helped liberate from Japan 69 years ago. The World War II veteran says July 21, 1944, at 8:30 a.m. was the first time he came to Guam. He was just 19 years old. He remembers arriving at Ga'an Point in Agate as one of two crewmen on an amphibious tractor, accompanied with 20 infantrymen and a driver. He also recalls being greeted with heavy gunfire at the water's edge as thousands of Marines stormed the island's shores to reclaim the American territory from the Japanese. Mays says he jumped out of the tractor when the gunfire killed their driver and was met with a machine gun churning the ocean water in front of him.
I turned back to the tractor and I found the other crewman. He had blood all over him from the splattered from the driver.
Right.
Yeah, and he was shot in the leg. And he and I went around and we cleaned my rifle, and then we looked for a target. We looked up over the bank, and a bullet hit my helmet, turned it.
A bullet hit your helmet?
Yeah, hard, and made the straps tight. I had to turn it back, and I looked at it, and I told him, let's move off to the left.
He says his initial thought was to get out of the way so the shooter could not see them. His reflexes were spot on because seconds later, an explosion went off that created a hole where he was standing.
When I went back later, there was a big hole about that big right where I had been standing 2 seconds before.
Wow.
And it made the noise when that explosion went, it was so loud that my ears were ringing for a couple of hours or more.
Mays says he took his fellow crewmen back to the beach to seek medical treatment on a Higgins boat. He describes his first days on Guam as chaos, as many other Marines were wounded or killed. But more Marines arrived. Mays notes their mission would last about 20 days before he left. It wasn't until almost a year later that he returned to Guam and stayed at a Marine camp in an undeveloped Tumon Bay. He also says he had the opportunity to tour Guam with some friends by hitchhiking and helping to deliver sacks of rice in the northern part of the island.
I remember one place we just put a sack of rice off at an intersection at two dirt roads. So that's what we spent the day doing that.
Mays says he got out of the Marine Corps in 1945 after serving 2.5 years. He then got involved in the trucking business and retired in the 1980s. He returned to Guam in 1994 for the Liberation Day Parade and reunited with some of the members of his outfit. This year, he is the only liberator able to make it back. He tells PNC he revisited Ga'an Point and made friends with this year's Grand Marshal, retired Maritza Mayor Buck Cruz. He says he is just humbled in meeting all the war survivors and listening to all the atrocities that occurred to the island's people.
It's just humbling to see that these nice people, this terrible thing was done to them for years. They lived like terrible, in constant fear. And I can't imagine living out in the jungle with no other rain and heat.
The 88-year-old hasn't quite processed that he is a hero and a liberator to many people. He insists that he was just doing his job and is one of thousands that liberated the island.
I feel good that these people come and say thank you, and I'm not sure what to say sometimes, but I was just doing my job, and I'm glad they don't have to live in the fear like they did before.
Mays isn't sure he'll be back next year because it's getting hard for him to travel. However, he did extend his current stay on Guam by a couple days. He emphasizes his admiration for the island's people is everlasting. Mays has 3 children, 6 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandchild coming in October. Josh Tikenko, PNC News.
Something would happen. It's terrible that it would happen to such a nice